we're going to go through the what, the why, the how, and the most common problems that we see with the front squat. So we'll start with the why. The reason why I would start with the bar in the front rack instead of the bar on our back is because it forces us to change the axial loading and actually helps us with the counterweight when learning how to squat. What we see is most people put the bar on their back when learning how to squat, and it ruins their hinge and they don't distribute the weight evenly throughout their foot. So we get people to start with the front squat after the goblet squat so that we can teach them how to squat well. You'll see here the bar sits across his shoulders with his elbows up in that front rack. Ideally just with a loose grip, unless you've got really good mobility, you can grab onto that bar nice and tight, but essentially making sure the elbows are nice and high is the main priority. From here, it's the same as the last few squats. We're going to drive our bum back. We're going to shift our knees or rotate our knees out so we've got torque through the hips, and then we're going to drive our weight down until our bum reaches past our knee line. And you can see here in the bottom, he's trying to keep his elbows up as high as he can. It's going to be tough through these lower traps to keep that up, but it's your job to make sure you ensure that stays high. So from there, we can stand tall. And the most common problems you're going to see is the same as the other two squats. You're not going to see the bum go back far enough, which is going to lead to being weight on the toes, show us a bad rep. So you see here, he comes onto the toes. Ideally, you want to shift that weight back early so that you don't have to try and fix it in the bottom of a squat when you've got weight on the bar. So the way that we can fix that is an early hip hinge, drive the bum back, pausing in that position there so that we know our weight's on our heels, keeping the elbows tall, and then sliding down into that deep front squat there. Perfect. The other most common problem is you start to see the fingers slipping off the bar or not being able to keep the elbows up. You're just going to have to work for that, and you can work through some mobility drills that we'll show you in some other videos. Cool, so the major problem we see with the front squat is because the weight is distributed across the front, we often see people with tight shoulders leaning forward in that squat. If you've got trouble with your ankle range of motion, you may want to chock your heels up, so you can just grab a couple of plates. Obviously, the higher you stack your heels, the easier it's going to be to get that dorsiflexion through the knees. So chock your feet up on some plates, still go through the same range of motion, so hips go back, keeping the elbows tall to engage the midline, and then you'll see there he's a lot more comfortable in the bottom because he's got that raised heel, so his knees can now travel further forward over his toes without lifting the weight off his heels. So try that, chocking it up. Obviously you don't want to rely on that for too long, but it can get you through those early stages of the front squat.